starting the stream.
Okie dokie. Oh, I just heard myself say okie dokie. That was really bad. Hi, Twitch. Live now. Oh, I lost Discord again then for a minute.
Oh, did you?
Hmm.
I wonder why it's doing that.
Don't know. It's weird though, because the ping isn't really changing, but it's still going down to like red and amber, and I don't know. Who knows? We'll just
Hmm.
have to wait and see how it goes.
Okay. I'm gonna get a glass of water real quick before we get going.
Okie doke. Oh, that's a bit weird. I'm now Tim. I'm not Tim, but I'm in Tim's box. Why am I in Tim's box? Oh, I know, because he turned his camera off. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Now I get it. Ah, da, da, da.
Okay.
I ended up in your box.
Oh yeah, it's because I turned off my vid. There we go. Now it should be adjusted.
Just waiting for the stream to update. There we are. Yeah, perfect. Much better. Oh, this Discord thing is gonna worry me.
It hasn't cut out your voice for me.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. I'll stop looking at it because it'll just stress me out.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Um, you're you're peaking between like high green and into the low yellow, so
Okay, great.
I think that should be fine.
Righto. This could be an interesting one. This is our first kind of chit chat one
Yeah,
where we don't have a defined topic.
yeah. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be fun. It'll be a little bit less organized, a little bit um, more just kind of chatting and you know
Hmm,
a little bit more casual, I guess.
sounds good.
So did you come prepared to read the or talk about the other book or?
I did. Well, sort of. So I have just finished listening to it,
Okay.
um, which I thought was good timing, but apparently it's not. Um, but having said that, um, I kind of ended up spending today not really thinking things through really very well. Like my
Sure.
brain isn't really firing on all cylinders. So
Right.
I was prepared to come and talk about it, and I was hoping that once we started the conversation, it would get me going.
Totally.
But yeah, right now I'm like, hmm, I haven't got a coherent thought about what I wanted to talk about regarding the book.
Yeah, you need some
But
time to
yeah,
process.
yeah, I think so. I think yeah, and even maybe even listen to a couple of the chapters again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think waiting another couple of weeks is going to be really good
Cool.
for that. We've still got the Island of Missing Trees in the middle of the screen.
I know, but we don't have another book to.
Don't, do we? No, true.
Unless we want to just like promote the next book and I can put that image up there.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Hi, Marty.
Hey, Marty. Hope you're well.
How's it going? Have you been trucking?
Right.
Oh, all right, I suppose. How are we both? All right. I know
Yeah.
always it never stops. Yeah, true. I started my new job 2 weeks ago, and I hate working, and I don't want to work anymore.
Oh, no.
It'll be fine. It's fine. I'm just struggling with having to be back in an office.
Yeah. Are you back full time in office or?
I'm trying not to be. I feel like the expectation is that we spend most of our time in the office.
Okay.
I'm hoping that my diary starts filling up with like things where I have to go, like spend a couple of hours on site somewhere, and then around that I can work from home.
Mm
I'm probably working from home like 1 day a week on purpose, and then um, the rest of the time I'm pretty much in the office. But if I do have a site visit somewhere, I know that I can work from home in the morning, go to the visit, and then come back and work in here. So I don't know.
hmm.
I'm
Okay.
trying to balance it so I get more time at home. But because I've not been there very long, my diary isn't very full yet. So
Right, right.
which isn't keeping me motivated. So I'm doing a lot of staring at screens and not a lot of communication, which is, boring. But it'll get there. It'll be fine. Oh, and I do have big news. I forgot.
Oh.
My horrible son, who I love dearly, who isn't really horrible, is coming back to stay with me for a while next week.
Really?
Yeah. So he will be around. I think he's coming on Sunday. And I don't know for how long. Part of me is like quite excited about it, and the other part of me is like, yeah, once he's here, I'll never get rid of him again.
That is a possibility.
Yeah, I know. I feel you, Marty.
Yeah.
But with him around, it means I won't feel quite as guilty about being out for long periods of time with the dog because he
That's
can
true.
be here.
He can be
So
there, yeah.
that will be good. Um, yeah, so that's gonna make. I think that's gonna put my headspace in a much better place for when I'm at the office.
That's good.
Because at the moment I'm going into the office, driving home at lunchtime, spending 10 minutes with the dog, and driving home, driving back to work again. I am going to turn streamer mode on because on Discord because it keeps beeping at me.
Oh. Yeah, I think it I have mine like auto defaults to streamer mode whenever OBS is launched, which is cool.
Yes. I'm not on OBS because you're
I
streaming.
know, yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, so that was my news for this week.
Marty, have you been reading anything or listening to any books? Go. Aha.
Da-da. Oh, there it is.
Oh boy. Might just be a little meh.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Are you thought about listening to them, Marty? Because that would be kind of cool, like while you're driving.
Yeah.
I'd swear I listen to most of my books is when I'm driving.
I also listen to books on my commute. Of course, I'm currently not working, so
True. Summer holidays.
yeah. And it's going very quickly already.
Oh.
But that's okay. That's how it goes.
When are you
Okay.
back? August?
Yeah, second week of August. So I still have like a good month.
Mm. Oh, yeah, I was kind of gutted when my time off ended recently. I could have done with a bit more time, even though I'd had 6 weeks. Maybe I should have been a teacher
Right?
those holidays.
You could have done it.
I couldn't. I'd spend all my time swearing and shouting at the children. I don't have the patience.
I mean, they swear and shout at me, so it's only fair, right?
I think we're supposed to be able to take the higher ground, though.
We
It's very
probably
much.
are. That's a good
It's,
point.
it's supposed to be a good influence, not
Yeah.
encourage them.
Yeah. Um okay,
Right?
one more quick thing before I got to plug in my phone cuz it's about to die and yeah.
Oh,
It's probably best to do that now, before we start recording. So,
yes. Good plan. I was just checking my work phone, see if I needed to plug that in. What's the weather like where you are, Marty? It's like it's cooler, but it still feels like really muggy. What's the weather like for you at the moment, Tim?
yesterday it was like very very humid and kind of we would get like a little rain shower and then it would become more humid, and then this morning and so far today it's been super nice. Like the temperature has come down quite a bit. It's about 74 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's a nice breeze. The sun's out. It's really, really nice. So, my plan is to get a nice walk in this afternoon.
Oh, lovely. I
Yeah,
keep forgetting we're not in the same time zone.
no,
I'm like,
or this. We're in the same hemisphere, but uh,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, we'll finish the podcast and I'll be thinking about going to bed. And you're like, yeah, I've still got the rest of my day.
right, yeah. Um, okay, well, I'm ready if you are.
Yeah, I'm ready. I am ready.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Book Nook podcast. I am your host, Tim, and with me is my co-host, Claire. Claire,
Hi, everybody.
how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm really good. Um,
We did. We started our Twitch stream a little bit early, so we did do some of the pleasantries. Talk about some of the new things going on in our lives. I know I recently got back from a trip. I went to visit family in Pennsylvania, and Claire, you recently started a new job. So
I did. I did. I don't like working. Working. It's going to be fine. I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to be great. First like couple of months in any new job are always
mhm.
tricky, but yeah, no, it's going to be good.
Yeah, yeah. So today, our podcast is going to be a little bit um, different than our previous ones. We're going to be a little bit less organized, just kind of chit chatting, catching up, and talking about some of the books that we've been reading because I was traveling and because Claire was starting a new position at work. We had previously decided, okay, we were doing 2 books a month. We probably need to scale that back and do like 1 book with the Book Nook podcast, and then any extra time that we have that we want to read, we'll just kind of be reading our own books. And so that is kind of like what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some of the things that we've been doing book related,
Hmm.
or otherwise. Are some of the topics that we might touch on might not be completely all about books, and that's okay because Claire and I do have other interests as well that can
Yep.
be quite time consuming. So, yeah. So, I guess,
And also we
yeah.
we do like to go off on a tangent every now
Oh,
and then.
we love a tangent here
Hmm.
on the Book Nook. I guess some business to go through up front. We do have a Discord that you can come join and be part of the conversation when the podcast isn't recording. So feel free to join that. That should be linked in our Twitch chat as well as I believe it's on our Instagram bio and any of those places. We have a TikTok. You can follow us at oh God, what is our TikTok? I plugged in my phone. I don't even
Is
have
it
it.
B_book_nook?
Yeah,
I can't remember it. Yeah,
that
I
sounds
guess
about
something
right.
like that.
Yeah. Um, our Twitter and Instagram accounts are also
Yeah,
feature some good pictures and videos that I try to throw up there from time to time. Although I'll be honest, I've been slacking lately.
yeah. No, well, I'm a complete Luddite when it comes to social media and stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of relying on you for all of that anyway.
Oh, fair enough.
Unless we can get some friendly fans of the show to
Yeah.
send us some stuff we can.
Absolutely. And so I guess one thing to quickly say is that we do record our podcast live on Twitch for free. Anybody that wants to is welcome to come over and chat with us while we record our podcast live. And that, of course, is the underscore book underscore nook. You can come watch the VODs or the videos on demand if you would like to, if you can't catch it but want to watch the video. Or you can listen to our podcast by listening to it, downloading and rating on Apple, iTunes, the Google Play Store, the Spotify's, anywhere that you get your podcasts, well, you can find us. And you just have to look for the Book Nook, and specifically the Book Nook with Tim and Claire.
Yes. There may be one or two book nooks.
A couple. There's like a few.
We
Um,
might have to think about a rebrand at some point to try and make
yeah,
ourselves a little bit more unique.
maybe so, maybe so. We're feeling it out. We thought that we were quite clever with our naming. Um,
Yeah, apparently not.
apparently not as much as we thought. Yeah. Um,
It may have been thought of before.
yeah. So, Claire, what have you been reading in since we last spoke?
Well, you know that I'm a big fan of the Expeditionary Force
I do
book
know this about you.
series. Yeah.
Yep.
So Craig Allenson is the author. It's a series called the Expeditionary Force series. Um, and we are currently up to book 14 of 15. Apparently, the next one is going to be the last one, which is I'm kind of sad about, but also excited to read it. Anyway, book 14 came out literally in early June, and I listened to these books because the um, Ray, what's his name, whose name escapes me, who reads them, is brilliant. Like, he's really, really good. So I listened to the books and I listened to this in about 4 days, I think, and it's a long one.
Oh wow.
Um, it's like I will find out actually.
I think you told me it
Um,
was like 20 hours, maybe more.
oh, R.C. Gray is the guy,
Okay.
and it is 20 hours. Yeah,
Yeah.
20 hours and 20 minutes long.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So I read that. Well, listened to that.
Yeah.
And that's about it recently, actually. I was going to talk about some other stuff around that, but around
Sure.
books. But yeah, it was really, really good. I loved it. Um, I saw one review that said something along the lines of it was a lot of, um, it felt like an in-between book where it was tying up a load of loose ends prior to the last one.
Mm.
But I actually didn't feel that that was the case. I actually really enjoyed it as a standalone kind of story.
Oh, cool.
Um, but yeah, it's very funny and very engaging and immersive, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I'm really gutted. The really exciting thing is that he is bringing out another book, which we got a sneak preview of at the end of this last one.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, so there is. I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's not out yet. Um, but it will be also read by R.C. Bray, and it's based on a guy in the States who is a little bit of a wizard.
Oh.
Apparently, he can do magic, but not very much magic because there isn't as much magic around as apparently there once was. And he is constantly moving because people are trying to kill him, and that seems to be the premise of this book that's coming out. So it's
Huh.
completely different from the Expeditionary Force series, but yeah, sounds really good.
That's interesting.
Hmm. Yeah. So what have you been reading?
So, okay. I guess it kind of starts with a story. So I flew back home to visit family in Pennsylvania, and when I was there, I started to like your phone tracks everything, right? So I
Hmm.
started to get like uh, it's hard to say ads, but I got recommendations on like my social apps of like local things to follow, and one of them was a bookstore in. I'm trying to think. I don't want to completely out where my family lives, but we'll just say it's Lancaster County, which is maybe for geography's sake, maybe like an hour west of Philadelphia. Um, so anyway, they were going out of business,
Oh,
and yeah, it was a privately owned bookstore. They were going out of business, and I they were having like a 50% off sale. So I was like, well, shoot, 50% off of all of their books is what they said. So let me go over and see like what their inventory is like. Um, and so my mom and I went over and we get there. We park and we have to pay to park. Not a big deal. We go find the storefront and it's it says that the bookstore is on the second floor. So we open up the door, and sure enough, it's like one of those situations, kind of like you would see in a city that has maybe some apartments upstairs, but they also have like doors on either side when you enter that go to businesses. So the first floor
Yes.
is businesses, the second floor is like apartments and offices and things. So we walk in and immediately like there are signs pointing to go up the stairs to the bookstore. And so we're like, okay, this is different. So we go up and we have to like navigate around some hallways and we find it and there's a woman and her mom just kind of like sitting there in the entryway just like looking straight ahead at anybody walking in. It was really weird.
Wow.
So we were just
Okay.
like, hey, is this the bookstore? And she's like, yep, everything's 50% off. So we started to kind of like peruse, and there's like the room that we walked into was kind of like the the entrance and or the cashiers, like the front desk type of a thing, and then they had a room off to the side with just bookshelves, like tons of bookshelves, and it is hardwood floors. They have like string lights to like make an ambiance, effect, and it was really like that room was really
Oh.
nice. I did not realize that this was a used bookstore. So
Ooh, okay.
yeah, it wasn't advertised as a used bookstore. This it was,
Hmm.
and that's fine.
Yeah. No, I
So
love a used bookstore.
yeah, so first I browsed the, um, oh geez, the like nonfiction books, and I didn't really see anything that I liked there because it wasn't anything that was well known or recent, and just didn't nothing really jumped out to me in the nonfiction section. So then I found my way over to what we you and I talk about often is like the sci-fi fantasy section.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for some Brandon Sanderson books because I figured, well, what the heck, maybe there's something here, but unfortunately there wasn't. There were a lot of books, but just nothing that like stuck out to me or anything that I recognized. Um, oh, and so they also had a classic literature section.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there I found an old copy of To Kill a Mockingbird, which
Ooh.
it was actually like identical to the copy that I read in high school, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. It also brought back like terrible memories of me like attempting to read and understand the book at the time. Um, so I ended up picking that up because it was like I don't know. I want to say it was like $4 with and like 50% off. It was like $2. So I was like,
Oh, wow.
I'm definitely,
Bargain.
yeah, definitely snagging this. And then I also found a book called The Road by Cormac McCarthy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Claire, have you
Gonna be
read?
a. I have read it.
You
I
have
have
read
read
it?
it. Yeah,
Okay.
I have.
I am three-quarters of the way through it.
Are you bored yet?
No, actually. I'm
Okay.
not. But I've seen the movie.
Okay, yeah.
So I've seen, like, I saw the movie, like, oh my gosh, whenever, like, a decade ago, maybe more at this point. I don't even know when that movie was made. With
Yeah, it's a while ago.
Hugo Mortensen, I think, was the lead
Mm,
actor. And I remember bits and pieces of it. I mostly remember that at the end, I was like, well, that was insanely depressing.
mm-hmm.
And I had seen that they had adapted it to a book. What I didn't know is that it was a book before it was a movie.
Right.
Naturally, so, that's usually the way it goes. So I was like, well, let's. It was also like, I think it was $8, so marked down to 4. And so I was like, well, what the heck? I'll pick it up and read it. And it's the text and like how it's kind of like written on the page. It's really simple to read,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it for a very quick read. And so far, like I said, I'm 3/4 of the way through it. I have less than 100 pages to read, and so far, it's not as depressing as I remember the movie being. Maybe I'm just more prepared, or maybe the state of the world is depressing me more than a post-apocalyptic fiction book. But
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
seem as heavy as I remember. So yeah,
I'm trying to remember when I read that book. I think it was an awfully long time ago. Definitely before the film came out,
okay.
like a while before the film came out. And I remember just finding it really boring and really depressing. And
I could see that.
yeah, it's sort of, yeah. I don't actually remember how it ends or very much about it at all. I just kind of remember being really bored by it. But I
So
also remember people like absolutely raving about it. Um, in
okay.
fact, I can tell you how long ago it was. I'm fairly sure that it must have been around 2004, 2005.
That's okay. So at least this copy of the book, it says that there's a copyright date of 2006.
Okay, all right, so a bit later. Yeah, fair enough.
But that might not be where, I don't know. Like that might be
It
different than
probably
a,
is about that. Yeah.
yeah,
So I
something
think
around
I read
there.
it. I must have read it when it was quite newly out. And I do remember my boyfriend at the time, his best friend Alex, telling me I had to read this book. It was brilliant. Blah, blah, blah. And I did read it, and I wasn't, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean it's
But I'm glad you do.
I don't know that I'm like liking it or not liking it so much as I just don't mind it, and it's a
Mm,
fairly simple read. Um, it's interesting. The author there's a lot of dialogue, so it's dialogue heavy. Um,
yeah.
but he doesn't use quotation marks. There's a lot of grammatical choices, a lot of run-on sentences, um, not a lot of context as to who is speaking. It'll just like this says, okay, this is page 101. It says, "Why do you think we're going to die? We don't have anything to eat. We'll find something." Okay. How long do you think people can go without food? I don't know. But how long do you think? Maybe a few days. And then what? You fall over dead? Yes. Like it's very like choppy, and there isn't, I mean, who's talking because it's literally like a father and a son. That's like what
Mm,
the book is about. Those are the main characters, but it there's very little context clues. So someone that is probably learning English, or English as a second language, I could see that being like kind of difficult to parse through and understand that.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that would be difficult. I wish I could remember more about the book so we could actually talk about it a bit more. But
Well, I
yeah.
can. I'll read like the in case anybody. Wait, we won't spoil it. in case you'd ever watched the movie or read the book. But I'll read like the little thing that Goodreads has. Um, so, a father and his son walk alone through burned America. So, burned America is kind of like the setting for this because there's lots of talk about ash, things covered in ash. There's no justification or reason that we know of as readers as to why this took place. I don't know if there was like, volcano, Yosemite, when exploded or whatever. But it's apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic setting, and the idea is that a lot of things and places and people and animals are no longer in existence. Okay, so back to the. So it says, nothing moves in the ravaged landscape save the ash on the wind. It is cold enough to crack stones, and when the snow falls, it is gray. The sky is dark. Their destination is the coast, although they don't know what, if anything, awaits them there. They have nothing, just a pistol to defend themselves against the lawless bands that stalk the road, the clothes they are wearing, a cart of scavenged food, and each other. And then it goes on to say the road is the profoundingly no, sorry. I can speak. The road is the profoundly moving story of a journey. It boldly imagines a future in which no hope remains, but in which the father and his son, each the other's world entire, are sustained by love. Awesome in the totality of its vision, it is an unflinching meditation on the worst and the best that we are capable of, ultimate destructiveness, desperate tenacity, and the tenderness that keeps two people alive in the face of total devastation. Um, so yeah, so um, that's how I guess you would describe the book, and that's how they describe the book. Definitely not a like feel good story,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's entertaining enough, and somehow less depressing than the current reality of the world that we exist in today. So um, I don't know if that's well, that's not good. We'll just put
Yeah.
it that way.
It's not good.
Um,
Is it just me or is everything shit?
it's not just you. Everything is on fire.
Yes, it is.
So anyway, that is a book that I started to read when I was home, and on the airplane I got to read a lot of it because um, the my flight was delayed like 2 hours, where we were just on the airplane but sitting on the tarmac, like we
Oh
couldn't. Yeah,
no.
we couldn't take off. So, which is, it's it happens. But
Yeah.
people were getting disgruntled on the plane, and I was just perfectly fine reading my book. Um, I was fine with that. So yeah. So anyway, that is one of the books that I'm reading. But
Okay.
I'll bounce it back to you, Claire. Do you have anything
Honest.
more that you want to say about the road, or do you have any other
Oh,
books that you'd like to talk about?
I have another book that just popped into my brain that I read fairly recently,
Okay.
which is kind of in a similar vein of The Road because it's post-apocalyptic,
Mm.
and it's called Station 11, and
Why does that sound so
it's
familiar?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's written by Emily St. John Mandel or Mandel. She is from reading this one book of hers. She's a great author. I really enjoyed it. It's a really interesting premise in that it jumps around between times
Okay.
and seemingly unconnected people end up kind of being connected through time uh, with things that sort of crop up. So basically, the Georgia flu out. There's an outbreak of flu that basically wipes out pretty much everybody, um, and the world is on fire. There's, I think, 20 years after the event, there's groups of people that are still alive, but there's no infrastructure. It's properly post-apocalyptic, and there's a group of traveling um, players, if you like, actors and also orchestra, and they travel around. No, they've got no engines or anything like that, but they've got like hollowed out old caravans and stuff that they use, and they pulled by horses and things. Um, and it's brilliant because it really harks back to when back in like the 16th century when you had traveling players riding around the UK putting on plays in different towns and villages for people, and the local villages would come and watch, and um, that's where Shakespeare started because was born in Stratford-on-Avon, and travelling players would come along and put on plays, and that encouraged him to then start writing and move to London and become a playwright. And he was also a travelling player for a while. So
Hmm.
yeah, it all harks back to that, and it's like it's all come full circle. And there's this travelling orchestra and actors guild, if you like, and it kind of jumps back from one of the people involved in that, who was on stage before the Georgia flu broke out as a child in a production of um, King Lear. And the actor that was playing King Lear had a heart attack on stage and died literally the day the Georgia flu started. And almost like people were dying within 24 hours of catching this thing.
Oh wow.
Um, and it also um, focuses on the this girl whose name I can't remember now, and also his ex-wife who had also died from the flu. But she was a an artist and was creating a comic book called Station 11, and the girl 20 something years later has got a copy of this comic, and that's kind of links it all through. But
That's how it links.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it's that similar kind of traveling post-apocalyptic thing. And there's dangers and there's cults that have sprung up. Um, one of the leaders of the this cult is also linked, but I'm not going to go into too much spoiler territory for that. But yeah, it moves forwards and backwards in time, and yeah, I really enjoyed that book. So you say you recognized it? Have you read it or?
Okay, so I do recognize it. It is a TV series on HBO
Oh,
Max.
oh, really?
It is. It came.
Interesting.
I want to say that I don't know when this book was written, but it came out like within the last 2 years. I want to say,
Yeah, I think
um,
it's quite new. Yeah.
and I watched like the first episode or two of it, but I didn't stick with it.
Oh, oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
There's I think this is what there's a little girl and and a man and his brother in either Chicago or New York City. I can't remember.
Mm.
Um, does that sound familiar?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And the brother, something happens. I don't think we completely know, but he's there, and then like they jump in time a little bit, and then he is perceived to have passed. And then it's this guy and this girl traveling. They can't stay any longer in their um, hotel, or not hotel, their apartment, living in the city. So they decide to leave, and yeah, I don't know. I don't remember a whole lot, much more, but now you make me want to continue watching it for sure.
I'm now trying to work out where I can watch it in the UK because we don't have HBO Max.
You don't?
We
Do you
don't,
have a?
but
Never
we
mind.
normally,
I'll
yeah,
talk to you
they
off
have
air.
they have some other we have some other like streaming services that show HBO shows,
Okay,
so
okay.
it should be somewhere. It said it was supposed to be January this year, so
Oh, okay.
it might have actually already been out, and I've just got to try and find it somewhere.
I
So
was gonna say I want to. I don't. I think they were releasing them episode by episode, which is
mm,
maybe why I fell off of it. But um, I do remember seeing the traveling
oh,
group of actors and actresses and drama folk. Um, so
yes,
I do remember some of that.
interesting.
I
Okay,
didn't know that
so
it was a book.
yeah, it was a book.
That's cool.
So this kind of neatly rolls on to a different topic. So I've been watching The Time Traveler's Wife, which
Ah,
is also a new
one of
TV series.
yes. I haven't watched any of it. I've just seen it.
Mm,
And it's one of your favorite books, right?
it is. It is
Yeah.
one of my favorite books. I love that book, and I read that a long time ago, and I've read it once or twice, maybe three times over the years. And they did make a film of it, which was okay, but very kind of light touch because it couldn't get in depth because it's too short. But the series, they've just had the first series finale. I think it was episode 7, so it was only a mini series.
Okay.
Um, so it's only covered like probably the first quarter of the book in
Oh,
this whole series.
really?
So I mean, it's yeah, this is
Oh.
kind of encouraging. But yeah, I've really enjoyed that watching that. It's a good representation of the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good, good. Um, if you think it's a good representation, then I think that probably speaks, pretty high to, um, how because sometimes book adaptations to series doesn't go so hot. So,
Mm.
um, so I'm glad I should check it out. Um,
Yeah. But I think you should read the book
you should,
because it's a good book.
I knew you were gonna say
So,
that. Yeah, I'll add that to my read list. That's ever growing.
so is there anything that you've seen lately that you know of from books that's now on screen that you?
Um, well, okay, so I mean, I feel like the one that jumps out to me and I think about all the time is Ready Player One. Um,
Oh yeah.
I read the book before seeing the movie because the movie was coming out, and I really enjoyed the book. I did my criticism of it was like, oh my lord, it's a little bit overkill in terms of
Hmm.
description and like um, maybe explanation of some of the pop culture references,
Mm.
which maybe some readers need, but most of it made complete sense to me and like resonated with me. I didn't quite need that, but the movie, I was so disappointed in the movie, Claire. Oh
Oh, the
my
movie was
word.
terrible.
It
Yeah.
was
Oh, not terrible. I mean, terrible's
it
probably
visually it
yeah.
was entertaining, right? Like it was
Yeah.
it was produced well, um, but they took some major liberties and changed quite a lot in regards to characters and stories that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Mm. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think the book was much better. Ready Player Two as a book wasn't as good as the first one, but yeah, I mean, the film did not live up anywhere near to the book.
No,
But
the and I guess a more recent one that that I will get to see, and I'm currently reading, which kind of is this is a perfect segue. Where the Crawdads Sing.
oh yeah, yeah, I'm
So
looking forward to that coming out.
yeah, so naturally, I am juggling multiple books at the same time. One of them being Where the Crawdads Sing, and I'm about 45% of the way through the book, and I'm enjoying it. And I did not know that the movie adaptation for this book is due out so soon. Um,
Oh, is it? When's it due?
it's like 2 weeks from now.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's a
because
movie, not a series.
it is a movie. Yep,
Okay.
it is a movie, and
Yeah, that could work.
yeah, I will be interested to see how this adaptation is received, and I have a feeling that I'm gonna like the book more than the movie, but that's okay. I mean, I feel like that
Hmm.
is quite common.
Yeah.
Um,
It's unusual that you find a movie
mhm.
of a book that's better or as good as the book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um,
I think, some things can be forgiven, I think, because you're kind of limited with what you can actually produce in a movie. When it comes to 800-page novel,
yeah.
you know. Which is why
Hmm.
talking about adaptations of books, when one of my favorite classic books would be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Not my favorite Jane Austen book in total, because I think Persuasion is possibly my favorite, but Pride and Prejudice is a great, great book, and that's been adapted so many times for the screen. So there's two or three films versions of it, and the BBC adaptation of it, which is 6 episodes of 1 hour each, so 6 hours, as opposed to a 2 hour film. And the BBC adaptation is quite possibly one of the best adaptations of a book that's ever been
Oh
produced. It
wow.
is so good. But that's really just the classic literature. I mean, it's classic, probably more attractive to females, but I don't know. It's good. It's funny. And Colin Firth when he was really young and pretty gorgeous. That made his name, that series.
Right. I
That
I
propelled him to superstardom.
I think I remember starting Pride and Prejudice, and I just didn't stick with it. But
Mm.
then I also vaguely remember that they came out with like a Pride and Prejudice with zombies or
Yeah,
something like that.
I
Um,
read that as well. I read
did
that
you?
book as well with zombies. It was actually pretty good.
Okay. Okay.
It's quite funny.
Um,
Uh, yeah.
so yeah. Um, talking about books and movies, where both I think are that I really enjoyed for maybe different reasons is Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park.
Mm.
Um, it's one of my favorite movies, and it's also up there in one of my favorite books as well. Very, they handle things differently in the book compared to the movie, but it doesn't take away what the movie did well. Like they were both really good in their own merit. Um,
I don't think I knew that Jurassic Park was a book.
oh
How
my
bad
word!
is that?
No, it's not bad. I mean, I didn't know that Station 11 was. So
That's true. Okay, that's a little bit more obscure
yeah,
than
yeah.
than Jurassic Park.
It's a good book.
um, yeah, I've never. Yeah, I mean, I've watched the first three Jurassic Parks.
Hmm.
I'm not a huge fan, but I mean they're okay, and
Yeah.
I'd probably enjoy them if I watched them again. But yeah, I'm not sure I'd pick up the book through choice.
Oh, it's good. I
Is it?
mean,
Is it worth? It's worth it.
you have to, to a certain extent, you have to like the idea of dinosaurs like being the monsters and chasing the humans, and like
Mm,
you have to be like into that thrill.
yeah.
Because in the book it is more probably close to a horror book than I think it is like a lighthearted sci-fi or anything like that. It's pretty intense, and his books after that, like The Lost World and like that, also those are all pretty heavy books. But I'm a Michael Crichton fan, so um,
You're not
yeah.
selling it to me,
I
Tom. I'm
know. I
sorry.
don't think I'm gonna win you over with that. Um, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Somebody out there might pick it up because I mentioned it. Um,
When it comes to the kind of science fictiony stuff, I am very much more attracted to stuff around space and other civilizations and planets and
mm,
universes and all of that sort of stuff than I am about, natural history, sciencey type stuff. I
Sure.
don't know. I've never been particularly interested in dinosaurs or, you know, pretty much kind of nature, to be honest. Although outer space, the cosmos is all nature, but you know, kind of the planet Earth. I'm not a huge like. I don't know. Doesn't really appeal to me, but I might give it a go at some point.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have another question.
Okay.
Is there I think I might have asked you this before, and I have
Hmm.
an answer for me on it. Is there something that you've watched recently that's inspired you to want to read more about something?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, something that I have seen recently that made me want to read more about it. Um, hmm. Can I think about that? Yeah, let's hear your
Yeah.
response
So I've
to
got
that.
two things actually that I've watched recently that have made me really want to read more about it, and both of them are actually around American historical figures, which is kind of, a bit unusual because obviously I'm English, but
Mm-hmm.
I probably know quite a lot about English history. I
Sure.
don't know a huge amount about American history, but first thing I watched was Gaslit, which was a story based on all the people that were involved in Watergate,
Oh, okay.
Nixon, um, people that perhaps history has forgotten slightly, but who were very much involved at the time. In particular, um, uh, Martha Mitchell, who was the wife of one of Nixon's advisors, who was one of the first to break the story, and she was disregarded, disrespected, ignored, because she had some mental health issues. Um, she drank a lot and was on quite a lot of pills and
Mm,
things that had been prescribed to her, and so they pretty much discounted what she was saying. But anyway, so that made me want to read a lot more around that period. And then the other one was a really similar thing, but I just got Paramount Plus and
yeah.
I watched the First Lady show. So it was all about Eleanor Roosevelt, Betty Ford, and Michelle Obama.
Oh, I've
And it
heard
was a
about that.
yeah, so it was a drama, and it flicked between the different periods and the different first ladies, and obviously learnt a lot more about. And I know that kind of Eleanor Roosevelt is kind of has this iconic status, and I never really knew very much about her other than a few quotes that had been thrown about here and there. And I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. But anyway, I watched this show and I just thought, do you know what? I really want to know more about Eleanor Roosevelt and Betty Ford, actually. Um, but mainly Eleanor Roosevelt. I think she's an incredibly interesting character. So that has inspired me to delve into some reading around those subjects.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
are you, um, I guess, are you planning on? Are you just like looking up, like, just learning more about them in general, like via like internet, or are you like,
Mm.
is there particular books that you're picking up or have already?
I'm I'm looking for some good books. Eleanor Roosevelt
Okay.
actually did write an autobiography, so I will probably read that. Um, but also I want to read a little bit more around the that era of, the kind of between the world wars, I suppose, was the kind of the era that we're talking about mostly with her. Um, and then also what she did again afterwards, because uh, um, FDR died in office, and so she lived quite a long time after that,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to know what else she did. And so yeah, it's I'm gonna pick up at least a book on those subjects and read up a bit more.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Um, I guess now that I've had a couple minutes to think about it, a lot of what I have been picking up and looking more into in terms of like learning, I guess, is still just around emotional development in children. There's a lot of literature out there about emotional development and how um, even like growing up through the different decades has impacted how students, or I always say students, how children have kind of grown and are changing in their development. How a student, how a child learned to regulate their emotions back in the 1990s is a lot different than how they're regulating their emotions today, like very, very differently. There's been a lot of research and a lot of literature that's been produced about that. A lot of that associates with my work, my regular job. So I'm constantly reading things about that. Read a book. Oh, I want to say it's a few months ago now, probably 6 months ago now. Um, Called "The Permission to Feel," and it's the full title is "Permission to Feel: Unlocking the Power of Emotions to Help Our Kids, Ourselves, and Our Society Thrive." It's a long title, but it kind of talks about. It's a bit self help ish, but also just kind of like bringing to light the idea that it's okay to feel different things at different times, and reflecting on that and kind of not trying to suppress it or identify, categorize it as, if I'm feeling frustrated about something, it doesn't necessarily always mean that I'm angry and like I'm lashing out at people. And a lot of times I think people try to suppress what they're feeling and to maybe save other people the effects of what you're feeling. But it also has to do with how we model that for our kids, and how we as a society can grow if we just if we just put a little bit more emphasis into our emotional development. And then I guess the other one that I read a year ago now, at least, was The Premonition, A Pandemic Story by Michael Lewis. He's the author of like
Oh, the guy that wrote The Big Short.
The Big Short, Moneyball. Yeah, exactly, that
Mm.
guy. So he wrote a book during the pandemic about three scientists that worked for the Department of Disease for the White House during the end of the Bush administration through the Obama administration, and then were fired at the beginning of Trump's administration, not surprisingly. And it's a fascinating story about how they were basically beating the drum of like, we're due, like, the Spanish flu was about a century ago, and what we know about pandemics is like there's typically one every 100 years or so, um, or less, I should say. And so that was a fascinating book. Really does kind of paint the Center for Disease Control in a bad light. And I mean, with the handling of this pandemic, I think the CDC is a bad guy. Whereas before I was like, the CDC, like they're a respectable, government agency with scientists and where they do things based on science and they speak rationally. I no longer feel that's the case. My opinion, of course, but I'm just disappointed with how they responded to something that could have been avoided and mitigated quickly, more quickly than it was.
Mm. Do you know what? It just occurred to me, and it's something I was thinking about the other day when I was watching this part of this First Lady show that I'd been watching, and there was a opera singer that was barred from singing in certain venues because she was black. And this is back in the late 1930s or mid 1930s, when segregation was still very much a thing. And Eleanor Roosevelt arranged for her to sing by the Washington Monument, and something like 70,000 people turned up to watch her.
Wow.
And I'm like, in 1930s, obviously there's no mobile phones. Hardly anybody has a phone. There's no mobile phones. There's no internet. There's no social media.
Right.
Um, and people still manage to mobilize without using the information superhighway, um, and all congregate to watch this amazing woman sing at the Washington Monument. And so, similarly with the pandemic, and I read that book as well, Premonition. I think, did we
Oh, you did?
discuss it?
I didn't know that
Yeah,
you read it.
I read it. Yeah. So I thought I couldn't remember if we discussed it or not, or if it was anyway. Well, I read it. And uh, there was a comparison with how things have been handled in the Spanish flu
Uh huh.
and how things were handled with COVID. Was that in that book?
It was.
Yeah. And how lockdowns and
Oh no.
things were told to do with COVID.
Yeah.
And that it didn't work very well in Philadelphia, but it did work somewhere else because
Yes.
they got there earlier.
Right.
So by the time they'd got that information out to Philadelphia, then it was too late to really stop the spread of
Mm-hmm.
the flu because too many people had it. It was exponentially, infecting people. And in the other place, St. Louis, was it? St. Louis?
Yes, St. Louis.
They got there earlier, and it had a much better impact because people locked down earlier. They started doing all of those self-isolation things earlier. All of that stuff really worked. And then we cut to 100 years later, and the same problems happened. And we should have been able to get that information out to people. We should have been able to lock down much earlier. We should have been able to self isolate.
Mm-hmm.
We should have had, plans in place for extra stuff for the hospitals, PPE. All of that stuff should have been in place because we had the lessons already there that we'd already learned. And nothing was any different to how it was with the Spanish flu. And then that really made me cross because we also have so many better ways to communicate. We have 24-hour rolling news. CNN has a constant breaking news story on the bottom of their screen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is getting information all the time from every angle, and we can't make these things happen quicker. That just made me cross. Anyway, that was my thought process.
I know. Claire, maybe we read it for our last book club? Is that
I think we did, but
okay?
I don't know if we actually had a
A
discussion about
discussion
it or
about
not.
it? Okay. Maybe not. Yeah. Um,
I can't
I mean, the
remember.
fact that you and I both read it, but we don't
Yeah.
remember talking about it. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it was good. It was a really interesting book. Really
Yeah.
interesting.
I actually, so, not to get too deep into political alignment here, I am, not more, I am left leaning, and my dad is the opposite. He's right leaning. And I got this book for him for Christmas because I don't think that he would have gone out and picked it up for himself, and I like to challenge his thinking a little bit. He's in his 60s, and some of his ideals and what his beliefs are, um, they don't resonate well with what I would have hoped societal norms would be. The Supreme Court is doing their best to stop that, to ruin that, I should say. But
Mm.
anyway, I will get off on a tangent there, and I don't. We don't need to do that here. Anyway, I got this book for my dad, and he really enjoyed it. He thought it was pretty interesting and fascinating. Of course, he didn't enjoy some of the bashing that they did about Trump and the Trump administration, but or the CDC, I guess, to a certain extent. But he is pro-vaccine. He wore his mask when he needed to, and so like he's not a complete idiot, I should say.
I'm sure he's not. Yeah, I mean, my relatives, certainly on my mum's parents' side, were extremely conservative leaning. Um, but my granny's still alive and she's well into her 90s now.
Hmm.
And she did all the right things as well. Wearing a mask,
Yeah,
self-isolating, all of that stuff. Lockdown, all of that stuff. But we didn't have quite the same backlash vaccines and mask wearing and lockdowns here, I don't think, as you did over there.
mm,
But I think that's just it's just the polarization of society, and we have that here as well. Um,
yeah,
but it seems to be so much more extreme sometimes in certain areas of the States.
yeah,
Um, it seems like almost nobody is like a moderate conservative or a moderate liberal anymore. You're either,
yeah.
you know,
That's an interesting point. I mean, do you feel that way in your society
absolutely, I
over
do.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've always been pretty far to the left anyway. That's kind of just,
Mm-hmm.
who I am. And,
Excuse
um,
me.
my dad and his family are all socialists, and um, that's not a dirty word over here, by the way,
Right.
as it is in the States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's socialism with a small s, if you like. But
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
we have socialized healthcare and stuff like that. It's not, it's not communism. It's not, you know. But yeah, so my dad's family are all very left wing, and I think I make him look like he's centrist, to be honest, because I am very left. left wing.
Yeah.
But I think people get more conservative as they get older as well.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. Um, or at least I would say that would seem true of the United States. And I mean, it's.
I can sort of understand it a little bit, and I think my theory on it is this, in very simplistic terms. When you're young and you have your whole life ahead of you, you can afford to be a lot more generous with your ideology and your thinking and, being all for one and one for all kind of thinking. I think as you get older and the society that we're in and the structures of society that we have been brought up in and that we have to put up with because that's how it is, capitalism, etc., etc. We won't go into white supremacy anyway. Those structures of society mean that as you get older, if you're not more focused on yourself and making sure that you have enough pension to live on and that you can make sure you're cared for when you're older and those sorts of things, and I think those sorts of things naturally push somebody out to be more conservative and more to the right.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably why people get a bit more conservative as they get older.
I like,
um
that's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, because of the society that we live in, we have to make sure that we are, you know, self-preservation says that we need to be provided for when we're older. And conservatism can feel a lot like they're the people that, or that's the ideology that's going to make sure that you're looked after when you're older. You know,
Right, right. Yeah.
you don't want to be paying more tax because you're paying more tax, you put less tax in your pocket.
Hmm.
It's that's kind of thinking, and I think that's what pushes people to be a bit further right. But hopefully, I will never be like that.
Yeah. It's very divisive here. I was just telling a friend last night. I got together with some good friends, um, and we were having a conversation about everything that's recently been going on here in the states politically, and we were just talking about how I don't think that my generation has lived in a time that has been so divisive and so divided as a country. Um,
Mm.
and how we are like starting to think that a civil war, of it, a civil war doesn't necessarily have to mean violence, but um, we're we're at a breaking point here, or at least it certainly feels that way, and
It's interesting.
it's a scary thought.
It's terrifying. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. What I think strikes me is that the country voted in a democratic president
Hmm.
on liberal, basis of views and everything else, but it doesn't seem to feel like that democratic kind of ideology is really breaking through to the rest of the constitutional kind of makeup of the society that you live in. So, things like abortion rights and that kind
Hmm.
of thing seem to be completely polar opposite to what the majority voted for. This is what I think is the I don't understand how that is a
Well,
thing.
yeah. Essentially, how that came to be is, and this is my understanding and interpretation, so I am by no means, an expert in this, but how I understand it is, um, the previous president, was able to nominate some key folks, which the president can do in their term if the Supreme Court um, has vacancies that need filling. And so there are a lot of judges and some people that were replaced before President Trump was uh, no longer president. And as a result of that, basically, in the
Yeah.
4 years that he was in office, he did more to destroy and set us back than the last 2 decades of presidents had done.
Mm.
And courts and it doesn't help that a Supreme Court justice does not have a term limit. I think that that's wrong.
Mm.
It's also filled with. I mean, I off the top of my head, I don't know the youngest person on the Supreme Court. I
Yeah, they're
hesitate
all
to
old white guys, aren't they?
Yeah, I hesitate to think that people lower than the age of 50 are on it, and I
Mm.
don't mean to sound ageist, but um, we have people making decisions for younger generations that they can't relate to or that they do not
Yeah.
understand.
This is a massive contradiction because you have a House of Representatives. That House of Representatives represents the culture and the people in the states that they represent.
Hmm.
And then you have a Supreme Court that's appointed by the president of the day as and when a slot opens up that is nowhere near representative of the country as a whole.
100%.
So it makes zero sense. It's like,
It's all about
so
power.
similarly, yeah, similarly over here we have a House of Lords.
Hmm.
We have the House of Commons and the House of Lords. So a little bit like Congress and Senate, but House of Lords are not elected.
Mm.
They are given their
Appointed.
titles. They are appointed,
Yeah.
and there's
Okay.
hundreds of them.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and they it's a lifelong thing that, and then they, so a bill gets passed in Parliament, and that bill then has to go through the House of Lords to be approved by the House of Lords before it can actually be put into law. So for the most part, it works okay. They tend to go with the majority government rule. So if Parliament the House of Commons has passed a bill, then they will tend to pass a bill. So they do tend to go with the Commons. It's very unusual for them to actually say no, but the structure is there for them to be able to veto almost anything. So, it all has to go through a vote and everything else, and each government will, put their own lords in the House. So there'll be, at the moment it's probably majority Conservative rule, but if Labour get in next time, they might make a few more lords, and there'll be, more um,
That leaning, yeah.
socialist lords,
Right.
But yeah, it's. I think a lot of it is based on trust, and I think if anything, the last 5 years has taught us is that we cannot trust the people that rule us, that
Oh,
are representing us or are in positions of power, will actually do the right thing anymore. Because all you've got to do is look at Trump, and that there is capability there for people to absolutely abuse their power.
yeah.
And yeah, it's so far, I don't think we've had too much of an issue with it, but it's just a worry. It's always there. It's a possibility. But yeah.
Yeah. It's.
Tangent.
I had a feeling that we would not get through this podcast without kind of venting a little bit of our frustrations about the state of things right now, as we record on June 26th, 2002, but 2022. Sorry.
Whoa, 2002. Jesus, I
I,
wish it was
I
2002.
mean, I know recently we turned back the clocks like 50 years here, but
Yeah.
not quite that way. I will say, for those out there that need services that were recently admonished by the Supreme Court in the United States, find yourself a friend, somebody that you can trust, and go camping with them in some states that are known to be really good for camping. And I know that there are people out there that are willing to help with that. Um, so yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about that. Um, Claire, should we talk about maybe some things that we're looking forward to book wise, coming in the future? Is there anything that you have, like, that you're looking forward to coming out, or are you planning a bookstore trip anytime soon?
No, not really. I've got a couple of books that I'm looking forward to reading that I've already got. One of them was one of the options for our book of the month last month.
Mm-hmm.
And we went with whatever book it was that we read last time. What fiction book did we read last time?
Well, before the 10 steps to Nanette,
Yes,
the island of missing trees.
that's one. The Island of Missing Trees. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to look back through our messages to find it. But I'm looking forward to reading that. And also, I bought the book that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda to
Mm.
write Hamilton.
Oh wow.
So I've bought the biography of and of Alexander Hamilton. So I'm going to read that. And then I'm also, as I said, going to try and find some books around about Eleanor Roosevelt and yeah, some other stuff,
Interesting.
some other interesting American women who it is important that we do not forget, who have paved the way for the rest of us.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Hmm.
Um, I, I'm looking forward to our next book of the month that we'll be having a podcast for in a couple weeks. That'll be coming up on the 10th of July, and that is called The Wake Up, which you, if you're watching our Twitch stream, we have a picture of it. It's called The Wake Up, Closing the Gap Between Good Intentions and Real Change. So I started it, but I think that I need to restart it and like do a clean run listen through. So I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, I'm just looking forward to doing some more privately owned bookstore trips. I There's one that I want to check out called Dog Eared Books in Ames, Iowa. So that's like 30-minute drive from me. So I'd like to check that out. Um, and I'm sure that I will not leave without a couple books under my arm. Because that's how it goes every time I enter a bookstore. But Timothy Zahn, jumping back to like our sci-fi love, Timothy Zahn writes a lot of Star Wars books, and there's some really good ones coming out soon. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those are reviewed. I don't think that I'll be able to squeeze them in, not with my already like filled backlog of books to read, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking forward to coming up this summer.
I love a good bookstore, particularly a secondhand one actually, because you never know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
So I've yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I used to go on trips with friends um was finding the local secondhand bookstore and rummaging through that. And one of those is where I got my one of my prized possessions, which is a very early copy of When We Were Very Young by A. A. Milne.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I've got one or two books that I've picked up from those bookstores over the years. So
that's very
yeah.
cool.
Mm.
The rate at which they're churning out the Star Wars books is insane. Like, I can't keep up, and before you know it, I'm like 10 books deep in my backlog, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Um,
Wow. I
so
think I should start reading those. I've never read them. I
oh,
might
there's
have to
some really
start.
good ones. If you're into Star Wars, the best, in my opinion, is called Lost Stars, and it's kind of a romance Star Wars adventure of two um, two lovers on like the Imperial side of the story. They go to school together. They kind of climb the ranks together, and they kind of talk about like they provide an interesting perspective to the rebellion, who are essentially in the Imperial's eyes terrorists. So it's a unique perspective, and two characters on the side of the bad guys, quote unquote, that you're rooting for, like, and so
Mm.
that's very fun. Um, and I love that like area of grayness of like, well, who's really the bad guy here? Because from depending on where you're standing, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow.
So
That is interesting. Yeah, I like that other
yeah,
perspective too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, if you're interested in a great Star Wars book, that is my favorite. It's called Lost Stars.
I will look it up eventually. I've got a bit to get through, but yeah, we'll eventually get around to them. I think
Uh,
I've always been into Star Trek more than Star Wars,
okay.
but I do like Star Wars.
Yeah, my dad was a big Star Trek, still is, like big into Star Trek. He liked that more than Star Wars as well.
Mm,
But
yeah.
yeah. I guess Claire, to wrap up before we officially like do our end, because it feels like we're coming to an end here. Is there anything else that you've been doing that you would like to share with the community? Any any movies that you watched recently that you really enjoyed, or um,
No,
games that you've played?
I talked a little bit about the TV and stuff. I've got a real problem with movies at the moment.
Okay.
Um, every time I watch a movie I like drama. I'm definitely more of a drama
Yeah.
fan than I am action or comedy or anything like that. So every film I've picked up recently has been full of people mumbling, long pauses, edgy, just I don't know. There's something slow about movies that I've been watching lately, and
Mm.
I'm just kind of, people are raving about it, or it's got Oscar buzz or something,
Yep.
or I'm just like, it was just long. Like, I
Right.
haven't
Right.
got time to sit there and wait for 5 minutes between sentences while people look at each other and try and convey something through body language. And I'm like, just get on with it.
Get on with it. Yeah.
I can't even remember what film it was I watched the other day, and I was like, yeah, this is just a bit pants, really. I think it was one of the new films on Apple TV.
Oh, okay.
Um, it had Dakota Johnson in it. But I mean, it was good. It was quite amusing, but there was quite a lot of just people not saying things that they should be saying,
Mm.
and it just frustrates me.
Yeah, there was a book or it's a book. There was a movie recently that I watched. I want to say it might have been. It was released on Netflix, and it got like in something about the dog. Um, anyway,
Oh, I think yeah, I know. I think I know the film. I haven't seen it yet,
okay.
but yeah, was it?
Benedict Cumberbatch is in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I thought it was terrible. I thought it was
right.
like not like actually not good. Not to say that the actors did a bad job. I just didn't enjoy the story. It was dreadfully drawn out, like the slowest burn ever. Um, yeah. So in general, I was just yeah, not having that. I'm trying to think. I did recently go to the movies and see the latest Jurassic World. It was mediocre at best.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, the entire Jurassic World series has been mediocre. Um,
Mm.
but, it was entertaining enough. And, it was kind of like I did it with family. So that was, that made it a little bit better, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm really
otherwise,
excited
hmm?
for. I know it's been out for a while, but I don't really get out to the cinema anymore, so I'm waiting for it to come out on Apple Movies or Amazon or whatever. Top Gun Maverick. I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
excited for the new Top Gun film. I've been waiting for it for so long.
Yeah. I've been
And
meaning to go out and see that as well.
I was worried that it wouldn't be very good, because I'm so hyped for it. But almost everyone that's seen it, and I've begged them not to give me any spoilers, but they've all said it's brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard a bad thing about it. Um,
So I'm very excited about that.
now, do you like the original Top Gun?
I love the original Top Gun. It's one of my favorite films
Really?
of all time.
Really?
Mhm.
I am shocked to hear that
Why?
because I mean, I did not like it. I think that I think the character that Tom Cruise portrays is so unlikable. Like
Mm,
he's just so like over the top, egotistical, like borderline misogynistic. Like I just didn't like how he treated his friends, like Goose,
Hmm.
and I didn't like how he treated oh God, what's her name?
Kelly McGillis.
Yes, thank you, Kelly McGillis. Uh,
Mm.
I didn't like how he treated her, and anyway, I was just not a fan of the original, and so, but that
I
doesn't
watched it
mean,
again. I watched it again recently with some friends and played a drinking game.
oh my gosh,
We had
that's
an
awesome.
online watch party and did it, and it was I can't I've got to find the rules, but it was hilarious. We were quite drunk very quickly. Um, it was like every time there was a gay moment, every time there was if somebody took their shirt off,
Oh yeah,
um,
that happens a lot.
every time. I can't remember what else it was. It was oh, every time Maverick broke a rule. And I think we all had individual ones as well. And I think mine was when anybody said Goose's call
Oh,
sign.
call sign, yeah,
Yeah, and so yeah, stuff like that. So it was hilarious. But yeah, it is a cheesy old film. But I think because I watched it when it first came out, and I really
yeah.
loved it then. I
Uh,
haven't stopped loving it. However, I kind of agree with what you were saying about Tom Cruise.
yeah, I mean the acting was great. The soundtrack, like the music in it was fantastic. Um, yeah, and I feel like everybody did a great job acting in it. I was just I don't think that it ages well. Um,
Mm. It ages brilliantly when you're playing a drinking game.
I could see that. I could see that. I might have enjoyed it more if I
Yeah.
partook. But yeah, no, I would like to go see Top Gun Maverick as well. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
games wise, so Claire, I don't know if you've in 2016 there was a mobile game that was released uh, called Pokemon Go.
Oh my God.
I've I've recently got back into Pokemon Go in a big way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's quite good because it gets you out and about, doesn't it?
That so I have been trying to move more. I don't, I need to lose some weight. I know that I need to be a little bit healthier, and this has kind of like lit a fire under me to like help me leave my apartment a little bit more
Hmm.
and go for walks and uh, it's just been like oddly enjoyable to disengage with everything else that's going on and just do that.
Mm.
Because it's an activity that I can do and that I can focus on. And I don't know, it's been really fun to see the updates that they've made since the game came out years ago. Um, Still microtransaction heavy, but like the other day, I've lived in this town for 7 years now, and I went to a park that I have never been to. Like I didn't even know that
Okay.
it was there. And I walked around the park for a while, and it was, so I'm already like enjoying that aspect of it again.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share that if you are a listener, um, you know, it's not too late to jump back into Pokemon Go.
I missed the Pokemon craze. It
Did
wasn't
you?
really my
Okay.
thing. Yeah, it was more like it was more my kids' thing.
Okay.
But even he wasn't that fussed about them. I think he was a bit young for it. So we just kind of generationally slightly
Sure.
missed it. But I did get Pokemon Go for a little while. But I never really took it that seriously. And
Yeah.
I was like trying to get them from like sitting in a pub table doing it,
Right. I mean,
not
there's that
really
too.
going out.
Yeah.
Games
Uh,
wise, I've been
yeah.
I'm really into GTA RP.
Of
So
course.
obviously I do that. I've not really been doing it as much lately.
Really?
Yeah, I've been taking a little bit of a break just because of tiredness from work, because it can get quite intense because you're constantly on playing a character and having to have your wits about you and
Okay.
try and create, scenes for other people and
Yeah.
keep an accent and all of that stuff
Oh
while I'm
yeah.
doing it. So, that whole role play thing, I think it's quite intense. So I've been really tired and I haven't really wanted to do it for a while. So I've been getting back into some um kind of simulation type games. So I've been
Oh,
playing Parkitect a little bit, which I love.
nice.
I've
Those
been
are
playing
great.
Raft a little bit this weekend, which I've really enjoyed.
Okay.
Um, I started playing Raft on Friday night, and then I looked around, and it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was
Okay.
still up playing it. It was unreal. Um, so yeah, and then I did start playing Satisfactory again a couple of weeks ago, but
Oh boy.
it's just, when
It
you feel a bit
scratches an itch.
overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that you have to do,
Of
and my
course.
innate laziness is just like, ugh, I can't really be bothered. But
So that's I have been feeling an itch to play like Planet Zoo again.
oh yeah,
And like Raft, I saw was is on sale right now on the Steam sale, and I was like, maybe I should finally pull the trigger on it. I know a lot of people have really had fun with it. Um, so yeah, I've been considering it, and like you said, I'm just feeling a little bit of a pull back into that survival slash simulator
yeah,
game type.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely my thing at the moment. It's what
That's
I'm
awesome.
into.
That's good to hear. Um, let's see. Do we have anything else, Claire?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think I haven't got a lot going on book wise, and now I'm looking forward to our next podcast where we talk about the wake up.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, The Wake Up, Closing the Gap Between Good Intentions and Real Change by Michelle Kim. Um, that is the next book that we will be reading as a group. So, if you'd like to join us for that, we'll be reading that over the, or have already read it in Claire's case. Over the
Yep.
next couple weeks, and we will plan to discuss it on July 10th. That's when we will record our podcast, and then it usually takes a couple days to kind of do like to turn it over and do some editing, and yeah, and so that audio listeners can hear it. Um, so yeah, with that, I guess we will go ahead and bring this show to a close. Like I said, don't forget to check out our social medias. You can look for us at the underscore book underscore nook on Twitch. And I believe on Instagram we are at TBN
Underscore the underscore the
underscore
underscore.
yes yeah underscore nook underscore yeah. We're pretty bad at the social media thing,
We are.
admittedly. And then don't forget to check out our Discord. We post updates in there frequently, and there's always room for discussion about books that you are reading as listeners. We love to hear from you. If you are listening to us on an app, please rate and review us. That greatly helps promote the show. And we love to get that feedback from you as to what you're thinking about it.
Yes, we do.
Oh, I think that's everything, Claire.
Yeah.
Um, I hope everybody takes some time to visit a library, visit a privately owned bookstore, and read a little bit of a book, and disconnect from the world a little bit if you can.
Yes. Very good advice right now. Thanks, everyone. See you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Right, give me 2 seconds. I will
Okay.
be right back. I'm dying for a wee.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, Sam, I see your question. So someone who I know has written a book, which I've just ordered myself, but was wondering if you'd be interested in looking into it at all. Well, of course. What's the book, Sam? You can post it if you want to post it here. You can. You could also post it to our Discord as well. Um, Sure, we're always open to checking out books and getting some listener recommendations. Oh, you know what? Let's see. It might be I might have those set to like, or we just don't have those set up at all. That's awkward. I thought we did. Let me grab a link for you real quick, Sam. Okay. Let's do invite people. And I just want to grab this and paste it there. There we go. Try that. Hey, welcome back.
Hey, hey. Whew.
Apparently, maybe I never set up our commands for Discord and stuff.
No, I'd just been like pasting it in there.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, we should definitely set up a command.
Yeah, we probably should. I could work on that. Um,
And hopefully we'll have all our panels done soon.
yes, I can't wait to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, oh, what in the world? The title is "The Cosmic Brain Explodes: A Neo-Gnostic Treatise on the Eternal Truth."
Treatise.
Treatise. Oh, interesting. I don't even know what my initial reactions would be to that.
No, I need to read the blurb on that one.
Right.
Cosmic brain.
You said it's a friend of yours that just wrote this book. What tell me about them. Also, thank you to everybody that tuned in on Twitch and hung out and chat. That's very nice of you.
Well, I've just read the blurb, but it's not really telling me anything more.
Interesting.
It feels a bit like a stream of consciousness type thing.
It almost, yeah, that's what it's, yeah.
Interesting.
Very philosophical in nature, it sounds like.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Wow.
It's sold out. I couldn't even buy one if I wanted to. Or at least I'm looking at it on Bandcamp.
I think yeah, you can get one. I can get one on Amazon.
Amazon.uk.
It's not on Audible, but I could get it on Kindle.
Oh, it looks like it's a short one too, like 88 pages.
Hmm. Well, you could give it a go. The trouble is, if we read it and we don't like it,
Right.
and someone's gonna have to come here and listen to us, bitching about their mate.
Maybe it'll be one that that we could always check out on our
Yeah,
side ones.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think it's one that we'd read for like the full podcasty one, but I
Mhm.
think if we wanted to read it and then talk about it briefly during one of these type, you know, every other week or every other podcast where we're talking about lots of books that we're looking at, then that, yeah, I think that would work.
What did you think of this episode, Claire? How did it feel when?
It felt good. I hope that we didn't go too off topic for people.
Yeah,
Um, I think there's just, there's stuff that we want to talk about, and I don't see why we shouldn't talk about it.
I agree. I agree. Um, I mean, I was kind of hoping that it would be, basically like it was, where it was just conversational and it was just two friends talking about books and movies and things that we like,
Yes,
or that we, you know, have strong opinions about.
I think it was. I think that worked
Yeah.
well. I'll be interested to listen to it afterwards,
Yes. Yeah.
which I probably will do, just because I'm a narcissist.
um, Sam says it's someone I know, so they are the keyboard playing for the Damned, a 70s punk band. So during the COVID downtime with bands not being able to play, he wrote a book. Yeah, that's awesome to channel that energy. He is someone with mental health issues, but also works within mental health. I understand that completely. That's very cool. That's awesome,
Yeah,
Sam.
no, I'm definitely interested to look at it. Um, I'm probably going to grab it on Kindle actually because it's a five on Kindle.
Um, how? I guess actually, I'll save that for a podcast. A question that I was going to ask you, but it's related to writing a book. So um, I'll save that for another
Okay,
podcast. Don't want
all
to.
right, make a
Don't.
note of it.
Yeah, I'll make a note of it along with editing the commands. um,
Yes.
I don't want to burn some good content.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, Twitch people on Twitch, thank you so much for hanging out with us. It does mean a lot to us that you pop in and say hi, or if you're just lurking and listening, that's great too. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of those who download. If you would like to, even if you watched the Twitch recording today, feel free to still download. You don't have to listen. You can delete it right away
Mm,
after downloading it. But those downloads do mean something, believe it or not. So, um,
okay.
anyway, um, I guess with that, we will go ahead and wrap up our Twitch stream. Um, Claire, anything before we officially sign off?
No, I'm all good.
All
I'm
right.
chill. That was a good podcast. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Sam. I appreciate that recommendation, and we will talk to you all in 2 weeks.
Yeah, see you in 2 weeks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.